Tanisha has quickly become one of my favorite people in the city. But Tanisha, why don't you tell us what you do for your day job?
So I am a faculty member at Vassar College, right around the corner. I primarily am in the Department of Political Science, but I also work with and teach students in Africana Studies and Women's Studies.
As a white woman who grew up primarily in Georgia, my experience of the police was benevolent. You know, I mean, I remember being a teenager and having a little too much to drink one evening and being pulled over in the middle of No Place, Georgia, right? Which is kind of between Athens and Madison. And this very sweet cop saying, "Oh, sweetie, we're gonna have to get you home. Follow me." And that's how we handled it back in the 80s, which wasn't a good idea, and it's good that there are different laws now. But you know what I mean? That was my experience of what police did when you were in need or could have been in trouble, but my experience was that they were trying to help you safely resolve it. So tell me, what's your experience of that?
So why I even started this work on Black judges was because I myself had an experience with one. So I was driving down the road. I was an undergraduate. I was a junior in college, and I was driving down the road one night and I didn't have my headlights on. So back in the day, there were no like running lights, right?
Right.
And so I had to like flip
I had that car.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so I forgot to flip the headlights on, and so I was driving down the road, and a police officer pulled right behind me. And I actually, at first, I did not think that he was pulling me over because I knew I was doing the speed limit, had my seatbelt on, those sorts of things. And so he pulled me over, and he comes up to the car. I am 10 and 2. Like I'm told, you know, that's something that's in my community. You have your hands on your steering wheel, no fidgeting, you know, look straight ahead, talk directly at the officer. I mean, there's like a whole checklist.
I knew
what to do. And this was my first encounter. Before this, I had never had any interaction with the police.
But someone had told you.
Absolutely. There's a type of socialization and education that happens within Black households and communities about what do you do to survive an encounter with police. And it's across the board, whether you're a girl, whether you're a boy, like it doesn't matter your gender or anything. And so I'm sitting there, I have the form, and the officer says, you know, do you know why I stopped you? And I said, I don't. And so he says, you didn't have your headlights on. And I said, oh, you know, I looked down and said, I'm so sorry, you know, I'm sorry about this. And he says, you know, give me the license and your car registration. So I give him his stuff. He goes back to the car, and he comes up after a while of being back there, and he says, starts asking me questions about where am I going? Where have I been? Sort of what's my business in the area. And so I guess I should have started by saying I was in a part of the community that was predominantly white. I was a student at a private liberal arts college like Vassar, so you know the area was sort of made up of the faculty members, etc. And so he asked me these questions which had nothing to do with my rights. Right? And so I'm explaining to him, I live in the community. I was right, like almost across the street from my apartment, and I'm pointing. So then he's like, okay. He goes back, he brings back his little book, he hands me my license, my registration, and he actually gives me a ticket for not having my headlights on.
Wow.
I had never been pulled over by the police, had no citations, no anything, right? And so I'm sitting there sort of crying, thinking that I just got a ticket for not having my headlights on. There is no grace. That officer, when they said to you, follow me home, right? That's grace. That's mercy. Yes, you did something, but here's, like, I don't have to punish you in this way. And so I think I was frustrated in that moment about this ticket.
Sure.
And at the time I didn't know how much the ticket was. I just knew I had this ticket, which to me was, thinking back on it, I'm like, okay, I was really dramatic, but I felt like it was the end of the world. So I went to court, and guess who was assigned to preside over the case? A Black woman judge. And so she stood there, right? That's right. So she stood there and she's looking at it's my arraignment. She's standing there looking at the documents, and she's like, I'm confused. Are you here because of a headlight? And I said, yeah. She's like, did you have broken headlights? I said, no, I just did not have them flipped on. I had this 1987 Toyota Camry, that was just it. And so she says, I cannot believe this. And she apologizes to me in an open court, right? And I just remember crying, I don't remember how I got out of the courthouse, but I just remember crying, and she, of course, I'm so sorry, but really apologetic. And so I left that courthouse thinking about race, thinking about power, thinking about justice and injustice. What does it mean to live and be in over-policed communities, all of these things. And I took those questions to graduate school.
Yeah, I think that really, just having those two different formative experiences, and I don't think ours are particularly extraordinary. I think those are just the kind of ordinary, everyday things that you bring with you. And I think for a lot of white people in this country, the idea of living with that kind of hidden or not so hidden aggression toward your community is just hard to sort of wrap our minds around.
That's right. I agree. I mean, I think that there is something about, what you said is, in that moment, I saw police to be helpful, right? And so I believe moving forward that they were meant to protect me and all that. For me, and people in the Black community and other over-policed communities, I think there is this sense that the police are not meant to help me. They're out to get me, right? They're out to stop me any chance I get. And so, I think what we've seen in the last, few years, but really, this is not something new, right? This is the way that police have been sort of anti-Black, and the way that their tactics of their policing. It's much longer than that. And so to think about Black people's feeling of the police as something other than, to protect me, it becomes this conversation, like what we're talking about now, right? Black versus blue, which it shouldn't be, right? Because we pay taxes, right? We belong to this community. They should also, they're civil servants. They literally are supposed to work for the people, but they work, the sense is that they work for some people and they work against others. And that is what is the hardest thing, I think, is sort of reconciling how do we change policing, if it's even possible, to change policing in a way that is protective and supportive of all communities, right? What's the role that the police should play?